special guest,
Tim Ball.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Power Motion Picnic Hour. As always, I'm your host, Dave, and as always, alongside me, doing 50% of the hosting duties is
Trevor.
Trevor, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. Just such a big week here on the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
It's been a very big week. I know we say that quite a bit, but when we do, it's always true.
Yeah, it's becoming a habit. That's just because there's a lot going on.
There is.
Yeah.
It's been an eventful few weeks in Power Motion Picnic Hours, but I think this week, we just for one had a very nice discussion with our friend and now special guest Tim Ball.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And I can't wait to share that with all of you. Tim had a lot of great insights and a lot of great experience as a runner, so we had a great talk.
He was also kind to let us reference literally every other single special guest that's ever been on the episode. It was kind of like the Power Motion Picnic Hour equivalent of like those real world shows where they brought like the different people on from like the different years, and
I remember
they all talked to each other.
What was your favorite season of The Real World?
Thought you were going to ask me something special guest related.
What was your favorite special guest?
Maybe San Francisco with what was it, Puck and Pedro, and
That was an intense one. Yeah, I guess that's the answer.
That was a classic one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so very nice chat there, and then a couple races to report on.
We have two big races to talk about this week that happened in the past week in the Power Motion Picnic Hour universe. What should we do first? Should we talk about the Community Mile first, since that was the cliffhanger that we left on last week?
Yeah, why don't we dive right in? We'll talk about Community Mile, and then maybe after the break we'll come back on the other one.
I like that. Yeah. Divided up nicely and cleanly. Well, I thought the Community Mile was a great success.
As did I.
It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of participants, a lot of remote participants, and a nice, small, enthusiastic crew down at the John Lindsay track in the East Village.
We did. There were people from participants from all over the world coming with their own styles of ambulation, a wide array of enjoyment levels reported, and really just a blast to hear from everybody. It seemed like a lot of folks had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah. The time started flying in from the UK first. We had a couple of runners in the UK. I think an 8:10 and an 8:21.
Yep. Got us off to a strong start.
Yeah, those are nice solid start. And then I don't know. And then they just started coming in from all over the Northeast. That's
right. And so we won't be able to cover every single result. There were just too many to do each of them justice on a short podcast. Should we announce the divisional winners tonight?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get it out there. Put it out there for the world to hear and then argue about for years to come.
All right. So should we start with the winners, or maybe talk about some other performances and then go there at the end?
Let's go winners.
Winners. All right. Do you want to start?
I think the winner in the running category, I believe, was are we supposed to use people's real names?
I think we were advised by our crack legal team to maybe do first names and vague location references that would be anonymous enough to not violate any sort of privacy regulations, increasingly stringent these days.
Well, first place in the running category, based on a combination of speed, enjoyment, and creativity, goes to listener Dan somewhere in the wilderness of Vermont.
Listener Dan, yes, a frequent mailbag contributor. Came in, reported a time roughly around 7 minutes, was the reported time. But really what I think took listener Dan to the top of really a quite competitive category, perhaps the most, maybe this side of walking. And listener Dan reports, my enjoyment level was the whole spectrum, heaven and hell in 1 mile. I loved it and I really hated it too. So on a scale of 1 to 10, all the numbers between 1 and 10 for enjoyment.
I think he means whole numbers. I hope he means whole numbers.
I mean, knowing listener Dan, he could mean anything. He experienced the whole spectrum. You can't leave any any numbers in between.
And listener Dan did a live stream video of his run, which I watched, not live, unfortunately, but was pretty amazing for anyone who
Oh
didn't
my
see it. And
goodness.
unfortunately, you can't see
Yeah.
the end of it because it's Vermont, and he ran out of where he had
Out
service.
out of service.
He ran a mile out of from his house. He measured a mile and he ran to it.
Yeah.
But it was pretty
But
amazing.
I think where listener Dan really sort of embodied the spirit was, yeah, running can be, the best and the worst, and sometimes all at once. And yeah, you got to feel it all, right? It's all part of it.
So congratulations, listener Dan. Thank you for participating. Next up, I guess we should do the walking category.
Yeah. So listener Judy in New Hampshire, also my mom. Yeah.
So she's already a winner even before she competed.
Yeah, as the kids might say, her famous quote, or maybe anyway, she mailbagged about it. So, yeah, listener Judy, it really exhibited a tremendous amount of athletic spirit and competitiveness, going out in the neighborhood, blasted by a neighbor dog named Roscoe, who really wanted some pets. And her dedication to the sport and to the community mile caused her to just press on right by Roscoe, who did get some extra pets the next day. So Roscoe was all right in the end as well. But listener Judy, New Hampshire, 18 minutes, taking home first place in walking.
And yet she beat out some tough competition from another walking competitor who told us that he did stop to pet a dog. And
that's right. I think that was our close second place.
Yeah, and that's how she won, basically, the resolve. And you can always pet twice as much the next day.
That's right. From Vermont, despite having both a faster time and arguably a higher enjoyment level. We know how excruciating it was for our winner to pass Roscoe, but reported a 110% and petted a dog, which added to the enjoyment, but ultimately sort of took him away from the primary goal of the race, which was to walk a mile.
And I might have to bleep some of that because I don't think giving that walker's first name alone is enough to anonymize them. So there might be some bleeping in my editing coming up, but we'll see how that goes.
We'll see. Yeah. It's a singular individual we're talking about there.
Then a controversial category, the light jog category, which we actually had 2 entries. Some people want to say there is no light jogging, and some people say, well, watch me go. And the winner in the light jog category was listener Sean in Brooklyn.
Congrats, listener Sean.
Let's see.
She reported a delightful for enjoyment.
That's a good enjoyment level.
And a speedy time for the light jog of 13:12.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, the light jog is a little less obvious, the cutoff between like from race walking to running. Light jogging to speed walking to slow running. It's really blurry.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly a much faster time than my average mile from the other race that we'll talk about from Saturday. So
I can't wait to get there. Okay, I think we have, how many more categories do we have?
Yeah, why don't we go over to skipping? We had 2 entrants, and one with a high enjoyment level, which was a picture of a frog, presumably taken on the run, but a time that was not enough to beat Coach Friend.
Nice.
Randy himself up in New Hampshire, coming in with a 9:31. And similar to listener Dan, it sounds like the enjoyment level was a little bit variable, so moderate, and it sounded like it was a tough effort at the end of a long day. Got out there, just really embraced the spirit of the community and of the community mile to just go out, get it done, and skipped a mile. Something I think most people, if you walked in almost anywhere, probably couldn't find another, right?
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Cool division.
Then another controversial division, the stationary bike division. We have listener Nancy from Virginia winning uncontested.
Yep.
With reporting an enjoyment level of 20 out of 10, which sounds dangerous.
It's that's intense
and thrilling.
And sort of nipping at the heels of Bosworth with a speedy 6-minute stationary bike. So who knows, 25, 30, if she had cranked it there, it's possible the Bosworth time could have come down. But congrats to listener Nancy.
Yeah, and that leaves us just one more category, a popular category,
A
the
very popular
moseying.
category.
The
Oh wait, no,
moseying. Oh, there's two more
there's two
categories.
more. There's two more. So yeah,
Sorry.
moseying. Let's go moseying first.
Moseying. That's a listener, Cassie in North Carolina. I think this was an enjoyment level also communicated through pictures, right?
For enjoyment, we have pictures of dogs as well as flowers, but we did also receive reports of chickadee sounds.
This is one wacky game show, as they say. And
Yeah,
then, yeah.
with the time of 2617, listener Cassie takes moseying. Yeah, and then rounding out the pack with an entrant that created a division, the cartwheel division, and that would be Hemingway Dowd, perhaps our youngest participant down in Florida, reporting a splendid time in a 13:48 cartwheel mile.
That feels blazingly fast. To cartwheel 13:48 mile, but I love it.
Well, given it was a unique division created presumably for the race at the race. We don't know how many cartwheels you need to qualify for that division, but there were at least one. I did get photographic evidence of at least a cartwheel, a full mile, and a 13:48 splendid time.
Yeah, the cartwheel mile is a young sport, so I think the rules for that one are changing year by year still.
Yeah, the robots haven't entered the realm yet to DQ on hand cartwheel violations.
They haven't taken over. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you everyone for participating, and congratulations to all the winners. And really, you're all winners. So congratulations to everyone.
Everyone's a winner. Happy to share these results somehow, perhaps, which we might do.
Yeah. And then maybe we should take ourselves to the live in the track. What I think most people are dying to hear about is how we did in the community mile.
Of course.
We didn't win any categories, but we did have a pretty epic matchup. You and I one-on-one.
One-on-one, a race right to the bitter end. I'd say it was, of the two races I participated in this week, it was my better race. I ran a much better community mile.
You won in the Power Motion Picnic Hour hosting division. We'll give that away. You were the fastest mile. And I mentioned on last week's show that I had a strategy, and I wouldn't say what it was. And my strategy was to let you take the lead and kind of draft behind you for a long time. Not even for drafting reasons or even strategic ones, but just because I had no idea how quickly to pace myself. And I figure since I think of you as a little bit faster than me, if I tried to keep up with you, that would be pushing myself sufficiently. So it seemed like a pretty sensible plan. And you own a smartwatch. You're like better at pacing yourself or even knowing how fast you're running. So I was like, that's another reason to just let you do it. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, the smartwatch was my demise because I went
and
to
mine.
Yeah, and yours. It blew up your strategy. I went to hit start the run like I always do. And it somehow recognized, a little too smart for its own good, recognized that we were on a track and brought up a message like, which lane are you in? And I had never seen that before. And it threw me off for just enough to, sort of just like throw up my hand and say, and then start going. By that point, you had already taken
I'd taken the lead, and I would have had to go pretty slow to let you catch up, which wouldn't have made any sense.
Yeah, my run ended up not being recorded at all.
and so but we did have timekeepers on the side, so we didn't even really need the watch. But so I at the end of the first 100, I was very much just in the lead, and that was just the way it was going to be. And it seems like you weren't going to try to make a move for a while, so I remained. I have no idea how far ahead of you, but I remained a bit ahead of you until 150 meters out.
You're going fast. I was hoping, my strategy was to hope you'd fade at that pace, kind of coming out hot. And I feel like that's a strategy that never quite works. But I was hoping by like lap 3, if you sort of felt some pressure from behind, like you might burn it out, and then I could put on a fast final lap.
Yeah,
but you were blazing, and by the 4th lap, finally we came into the last like 150 meters, and I was like, oh shit, I've got to make a move here.
Now or never.
Now or never. So picked it up and had just enough, coming in with a 6:21 to your 6:23, which I believe is a PR for you, as far as you know.
I think it's a PR as far as I know. Yeah, I haven't run a real mile since high school. and I don't think those were that fast. And I was trying to figure out when my fastest mile ever was. And one thing I remembered when thinking about that was back when I was 11, when we did the presidential fitness test in gym class, when I was 11 that year, I won the award for being over 85% in every category. And actually, while remembering that, I remembered that I set my middle school's sit-up record with 59 sit-ups in a minute.
Wow.
Which is probably actually my greatest athletic achievement of my life. And I forgot. Thanks. Yeah. I'm glad to actually have remembered that, because it's a nice thing to be proud of. I remember being proud of it back then too, but eventually you get to be like 15, 16, you stop being proud of things you did when you were 11.
Yeah.
They don't matter at all. But now,
once you're Fortissimo and one, it's newly relevant again.
It's all good again. It goes into the story. So I remembered that, and I must have obviously run over 85% in the mile if I got over 85% everything. So I looked up what that would have been in 1993, and it means I would have had to be under 7:32. So yeah, so let's say my PR was 7:30, and I in 1993 and or 94, and I shattered it with a 6:23.
Even if you did like a 7-minute or even slight sub 7-minute, like 23, that's a fast time.
And while I might have been faster a year or two later, I think I peaked pretty soon after that. So I don't think I made it all the way to a minute faster.
Yeah. All right. Well, and then I guess we talk a little bit with Tim about some of the other heat from the live event, and I don't know, what do you think? Should we go to that?
Yeah, let's go to our talk with Tim, do a little more, hear some of his advice and some of his wisdom, a little more coverage of the race, and then we'll come back here and you and I will talk about the other big race from this past week. This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
Customarily, we start with the special guest. You can state your name, and if you'd like, you can say a little bit about yourself, but that part's optional.
All right, cool. So, hey guys, thanks for having me again. My name's Tim Ball. I'm a hobby jogger. I enjoy running marathons on a semi-competitive basis, but not too competitive. My latest goal is to try to run all the world major marathons, like within the next 10 years or so. But we'll see when that happens. But I've run Boston so far, so that's good. Right now I'm on a 3-day running schedule because of a lot of Achilles issues. So I'm going to physical therapy a lot. So I'm on the come up. It's a nice goal to have. I realize with running, it's always good to set some goals and not get too casual with it. So
yeah, it helps to get something's got to get you out there on the cold, rainy mornings.
Exactly. Once you have that, I used to have this philosophy, running for the feeling, when I was competitive with running for 10 years or so, in high school throughout college. And after college, I was I'm sick of the competitive aspect of running. So I just would always only run for the feeling. It was my mantra.
Nice.
And I try to exhibit that a little bit now, but I also want to be somewhat competitive now. So that's why I've set this bar of running the 5 world majors, or 6 world majors, I think.
That's the plot of the book Siddhartha, I think, right?
I love Siddhartha, yeah.
He goes too far one way, so then he goes way the other way.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Then he attains enlightenment, which I think means, in your case, winning the London Marathon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I go to the extremes. I'm either all in or all out. So I'm trying to find that middle path, to quote some Buddhist philosophy. But yeah, Siddhartha, he started off like a rich boy, then he just oh, I'm sick of this. And then he went off, became an aesthetic, just wandering around. He couldn't find enlightenment doing that. So then he became really rich, and he was oh, I can't do that. That's not it either. So he just sat next to a river. And then he just stared at the river for a while and became enlightened, became the ferryman.
I like that.
Yeah. But it's a great book.
It is a great book. I haven't read it in a long time. I imagine it was a similar journey for Eliud Kipchoge as well.
Yeah, he has a very kind of monkish demeanor to him, and how his relationship with running is very disciplined and does a lot of chores when he's in like I know like when they on that like encampment in Kenya, I forget the name of like the town, but they all are assigned chores on a daily basis. So I think it's a good way to go about it.
Did you ever read that book, Running with the Kenyans?
No, that sounds like a great book though.
I didn't read it either, but I've meant to. It does sound like a great book.
Yeah.
I don't remember where the guy's from who wrote it, but maybe when we officially start up the Power Motion Picnic Hour book club.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's
that'd be yeah, because we'll do that after we do Siddhartha.
Yeah, Siddhartha's a good one. You know, applies to every aspect of life.
Yeah. I read that on a plane ride from Boston to Los Angeles and 22 years ago.
Yeah, time to reread it, you know.
Yeah.
It has a similar meaning to you.
Yeah, I think I'm about due.
Well,
yeah, so yeah, that's me, you know. I wish I could be more like Siddhartha, but you're right.
Don't we all?
It's a journey. It was a journey for him, Trevor. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean about the goals, and I just completed sort of like my second of two sort of big goals for the year on Saturday, and now I'm already feeling like a loss in a sense of like, oh shit, I've got to get something else on the calendar to stay motivated about.
I know, yeah, like you just like kind of like chasing that goal for so long, and yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder like, why am I doing this? You know, am I doing this for that feeling after I finish the race, or should I be enjoying the journey leading up to that destination of finishing the race?
Yeah, it's got to be the journey too, right? It's got to be.
It is a weird feeling that like right after you've achieved a big goal, and I've only ever achieved one big running goal, so I'm not speaking from a lot of experience. But then you're like, oh well, okay, yeah, what now? You know?
Yeah.
And in my experience of training, I ran a marathon a few months ago. But then for a couple months, I didn't have like really the motivation to run that hard. But I feel it again now. So I got it back.
Yeah, I think it's like healthy though. You're doing it for the right reasons, you know, you're not like doing it because you have to, you're doing it when you're ready to do it.
Yeah.
It's probably good to let your body rest for a while too. Like I think like professional runners, they don't run at all for like 2 weeks after they run a marathon, which is surprising.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's like for me too, ever since Boston, I've kind of just been like pretty lackadaisical in my running.
So
and,
Boston,
like, because of injuries and stuff, but also like I probably could be a bit more ambitious.
Boston was your second marathon, right?
Yes, I've run 2 marathons so far. So the first one was called Chasing the Unicorn Marathon. It's in like Washington Crossing, which is along the Delaware River between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So it's where like Washington crossed the Delaware River and sacked the Brits on Christmas, I think it was.
Take that, you Tory bastards, or whatever you call. What are you supposed to call them? Lobster backs.
I know, man. They're just getting taxed too hard, so they bolted. So
I would be with Washington. Just let the record state.
Right.
If I was around,
the Patriot, you know, Mel Gibson's best.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first, and then so that was just like an out and back marathon, like a 6-mile length. So that was like the whole purpose of that race was in honor of the Boston bombings. So it started the year after the Boston bombings. And this was actually the 10th anniversary of the race. It's very low key, but it's like the last possible day that you could qualify for the Boston Marathon. So I just went for it there. First 22 miles, I was like on a pretty good clip, like 6:30s. But I just like hit a complete absolute wall in like the last 4 miles. Like it was at like 8 to 9 minute pace.
Oh man!
I was kind of hoping I wouldn't qualify for Boston because I was in so much pain and I just didn't want to run a marathon again.
I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, like one of my friends said, like me and my other buddy, he had just come back from like a road trip. This other guy, he's run Boston like 9 times and like 18 marathons. He was kind of like, I was like his little mentee, you know, he's kind of teaching me the ropes of Boston. Yeah. But neither of us really trained properly for this marathon, but we ended up both qualifying. And my friend is like an honest runner who works really hard. He said that we like spat in the devil's eyes that day because like we had no business qualifying for Boston.
I like that.
But I probably just like made a deal with the devil that day without even knowing it.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
I usually order my shoes, but I was like, oh, I'll go to Road Runners, get like a treadmill try on experience to see what they're all about. And
Nice.
they literally recommended GT 2000s to me, which is a shoe I already run in. And the Brooks Adrenalines. So I was like, this is kind of, and I almost like didn't buy them there because I was like being cheap. I was like, I'll just order them online.
Yeah, I'll find a cheaper pair online.
And I was like, this is messed up. So I didn't do that. I was trying to
I
be a
know.
good person.
Don't you feel like when you go to the running shoe store that they're gonna like, at least this never happens, of course, but you feel like they're gonna be like, wait, I got something, and they're gonna go out back and pull a shoe no one's ever heard of and be like, this is the shoe for you. And like the people who work there aren't even like experts. I mean, they're like, they know what they're doing. They're trained for their job. They know all the shoes. They do it every day.
They're just doing it for the paycheck.
Yeah, they're not like I mean, maybe somewhere there's a running, maybe someone could write into our mailbag and let me know where there's a good running store with like a guru, a shoe guru, right? So with extreme passion for
I know, yeah, but yeah, maybe it might be like too passionate, like say you should run barefoot or something, and you have like a stress fracture.
I did that. We did an episode about that. We tested out the Zero running sandals.
Oh wow, how'd it go?
It was good. I mean, I didn't run very far. I think on Trevor's recommendation, because you overran in them, right?
I didn't run. See, that's the thing. I only ran for a mile, but I ran it a little bit too hard and on too hard of a surface, and I was fine. I mean, it just gave me a really good workout, far beyond what I was expecting.
I think I did. Well, I can't remember now.
Screaming like that.
my calves.
I have one friend who does all his runs in shoes like that, and I was like, I don't know how you do this, man. Like, but he's built different.
We have a friend and a former special guest, right? Who did didn't he run like 100 miles in them or something?
Oh my
popular runner Jim Pergolesi ran. I think I don't think it was 100. I think it was half of a 50-mile race, maybe, or maybe half of 100K. Either way, it was a long distance.
Yeah,
like mostly in sandals.
Wow, he's really close to enlightenment.
We talk about him
on that run.
We talk about him at least once an episode these days.
The best thing about being a special guest on this show is that we just like reference all our special guests all the time. It's true, Jim might be the one we reference the most.
Possibly. He was the first, so he's had the most opportunities just by definition.
He had the longest race in his history of any of our guests, which was 100, but we just had a guest on our last episode who did 105 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 24-hour race.
Tim, I think you told me once that you did an ultra once, right? And didn't want to do it again.
That was my preparation for like chasing the unicorn marathon. Like I had this philosophy that I was like, if I just run like longer but really slow, then that won't be too harsh on my Achilles, which I kind of worked. But
yeah.
So I did like a 70-mile race, and actually this poster here is like the course, that green one.
Oh, nice.
The Laurel Highlands Trail. I forgot the name of it, so I had to look at it. But yeah, it's like a ridge line. It's near where like the Falling Waters is, like the famous architect guy.
Oh, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yeah, Frank Lloyd Wright. It's like that area of Pennsylvania. So I was like driving to a wedding in Pennsylvania, and I drove underneath the Laurel Highlands Trail, and it was like a really nice sign. So it made an impression on me. And at my friend's wedding, he was like, "Oh yeah, that's a Laurel Highlands Trail. It was actually an ultra." So then we just all signed up that night to do this race.
Get drunk and sign up for an ultra.
Yeah,
it happens.
And this guy, he ended up getting like 5th place or something, and his brother won it like last year.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I got like 26th, but yeah, it was brutal. It took me like 16 and a half hours, and like I lost all these toenails, and that's why when you said like, I wouldn't do it again. Yeah, it's not worth it for losing toenails. Like it's just the toenail discomfort is like the worst pain.
Yeah. Susie Hot Rod was talking about that from like a roller skating perspective,
but you are the second special guest to talk about losing toenails, which is good. I'm glad we got back to that.
Yeah, I was actually with our last special guest recently and talking a lot in real life off pod about our Tom Bosworth interview, because I feel like Tom, who is an Olympic race walker and record holder of the fastest ever mile time, in walking, and I don't know. Yeah, so anyway, I feel like Tom had a lot of good like little nuggets of wisdom that I've found myself like repeating in real life.
Yeah.
Not that the pod isn't real. I mean, it is, but
it's similar. It's adjacent to real life. Yeah. Tom Bosworth is his 5:31:08 race walking mile.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
Yeah, because we just did it. We did our community mile last week, and so we learned how fast we can currently run miles.
Oh yeah, you guys had like a showdown, I heard, right? It was
Yeah,
pretty
it was good. Yeah. Oh man,
right through the tape.
it was. Yeah, I was just waiting the whole time for Trevor to make a kick. It was rough. I knew he couldn't have been far behind me. I figured he was like 1 foot behind. And then with 150 meters to go, he just kicked. I kicked too, but I couldn't kick as hard, I guess.
It was a fun race. It was a proper race, as they say.
It was exactly. It was very fun, yeah. But our 6:21, 6:23. I mean, that's 50 and 52 seconds slower than Tom walking.
And I guess, I think with this next reference, we'll have literally mentioned all special guests at this point. But
let's do it.
But Pierce, non-binary runner of the year, 2022, New York City, was the only one to get even close in the community mile with their 5:41. So
Yeah.
they got within 10 seconds, but did not beat Bosworth. And Tom himself is, I think, still planning to run it. He said that he was going to enter, and he wasn't even sure if he could run faster than his walking mile. Like, that's how insane his walking mile was. He's been retired for a year, so he's not at peak conditioning.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I need to check that out on the YouTube.
So
it's great.
Yeah, there's some good videos for sure.
You forgot to mention, or you should mention that Pierce did PR in the mile 2 days earlier with a 5:08.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Pierce was taking it easy.
They have beat him before, but
yeah. You also forgot one special guest, which is former special guest, popular runner and popular composer Brendan Etter.
Brendan Etter, of course, whose entry to the community mile included 3 miles. Bonus, because the whole thing was self-reported, so we got a lot of wild takes on ambulation.
Tim, what's your mile running PR?
Probably, yeah. It's when I was like in high school. It was in a distance medley relay, but like my official time was like like that. In that relay, I did like a 4:08 1600, which is like a 4.
So I'm talking about
10 mile. But my claim to fame in high school was I ran 4:10 as a sophomore, like as a 15-year-old.
Whoa!
I had like the New Jersey state record.
Really?
Year until Edward Chesrick, now professional runner, broke it. And so I was like, I peaked then,
you peaked sophomore year in high school.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe in college I could have run faster than that, but I did more like distance and stuff. But yeah, the miles like probably my favorite race. So like I'm trying to get back to that, not to that point, but I'd love to run like a mile again on a track, like pain-free.
Oh, yeah. It was fun. I hadn't run them, and obviously my mind was a lot slower, but it is fun to do, especially on a track, just running 4 times on that inside track, and just like, because you can push yourself pretty hard. It's not that long,
Yeah, no, it's a great race, and like the first 2 laps, you're kind of like getting your place, and then like the 3rd lap, it's like, oh, you need to get better positioning, and then 4th lap, you're just like, let's go for it,
Yeah, 4th lap rules.
I feel like, Dave, you're going to have to find some sort of like special effect, like siren sound to put in a 4:08, like, fast alert. Like that's by far the fastest, I think, of any of our guests or anybody even loosely affiliated with the Power Motion Picnic Hour community. That's got to be the top mile time ever.
Might be the top mile time spoken of on here. So yeah, I don't even know who would be second.
In our world, I think you just took the crown.
Yeah, there's some kind of award. It'll be coming in the mail.
Wow. Yes, yeah, that was 17-year-old Tim. Now who knows what? Probably like tear my Achilles or something.
You would try to beat the time, and then that would be your last race you ever ran.
Yeah, no, it would be, but maybe as a Masters runner. But, that's fast for a Masters runner, so probably not.
During the first heat of the community mile that was live in New York from the John V. Lindsay East River Park.
East River Park.
Yeah, it was cool.
And the first heat was the female gear shed correspondent for our podcast against her friend Beast, and the two of them line up getting ready to go, and and like I think we did what do we do? Ready, go.
Yeah. Runners on your marks.
Yeah, on your marks, go. And this other guy just happened to be lining up like at the exact same time and was sort of like, huh? Like, oh, what? And then we were like, a mile. And he like charged out like really hard. And we're like, awesome, we got another participant. And he went on to like sprint like a super fast 100 meters and then turn around. So
that was it.
So we gave him a DNF.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We put him in the official scorebook, but he was actually just happy. He was practicing his sprints, I think, and happy to have someone simulating.
He was pretty psyched about the countdown. Yeah.
Yeah. It would help his training a little bit. He did
great.
We bet 3 heats, unintentionally 3 actually, because Pierce showed up like while we were doing our heat. And so I was like, hey, Pierce. So there's a little communication during the heat also, which was good. I like that.
And then Pierce started running their mile and very quickly like passed me and Dave, like, you know, and just went on to run the 5:41. But it was funny because yeah, like they arrived, like chucked down their stuff and then just took off for the mile, but had also run I think 6 miles to get there,
or something like that. And then and like actually like Pierce was only running 40 seconds faster than us, but when Pierce went by, it felt like the Flash was going by. So they must have started fast, you know, and then cruised into the finish or something to maybe who knows, maybe felt funny and didn't want to get injured or something, you know.
Wow, it sounds like an electric race.
Although if you could have been there to bust out a 4:10.
Oh no, not I would have it would have been a race, you know. I could have hung on maybe the Pierce, but who knows, like cold turkey, that would be rough.
That was
a real run.
That was almost the theme of the race, was cold turkey. I think nobody aside from Pierce like going into it knew what they were gonna be capable of, I think. Well, and then Beast revealed to us after the race, because I think she hadn't been doing any real running in a while, though she works out a lot. It's a big CrossFitter and
nice.
And a retired roller derby skater. But then she revealed to us after the race that she used to run the mile in high school track.
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, either way, it was a super impressive mile. Like we saw her and the female gear shed correspondent cruising along, and then at some point Beast just like slowly separated and had this like just super quick cadence, and then just kept it up and just made like a little bit more ground gradually throughout the whole race. And I think went on to, I mean, both of them put up really nice performances. I don't know if Beast had a goal, but her competitor went under the sub 8 that she was going for, like quite handsomely. So that was a really nice performance too.
It was a fun race to watch. Awesome. Yeah.
And so Tim, you also brought a song of the week.
Yeah, sure. So like I actually like have like a Spotify playlist I use called Get Fit, you know. Treadmill running is the new Zen. Haven't you heard? I don't even remember writing that, but apparently I did. So
that's great.
Playlist. So I was like looking through this playlist, and I was trying to find like the most honest song that really like, you know, is my go-to running song. And I ended up going with Got Nothing by Spoon. When I'm with you, all my brothers, oh, I feel like a king. It feels like I'm dreaming. When that blood goes rattling through my veins. There's other like Spoon songs that I like off like newer albums. From this album in particular, one time I was like running, like right when I got back into running again, like last year, I think, while training for the Boston Marathon. I was like running late at night in Johnson Park in central New Jersey, and I saw like the red light of Rutgers football stadium, and then the song came on, and it was just like pitch black and just just kind of ominous and like just running from my demons or whatever. But so then the lyric came on in the song, and I got nothing to lose but darkness and shadows, got nothing to lose but bitterness and patterns. I got nothing to lose.
but darkness and shadows. Got nothing to lose but loneliness and patterns.
So yeah, it's like those lyrics, and then the song itself is like very quick tempo, which is like I think necessary when you're trying to run fast in a workout. Like depends on the setting. There's other like depends what you're trying to do with your run. In this circumstance, I was like running at a decent pace. So yeah, in those lyrics, like they just spoke to me because I was like for so long I hadn't been goal oriented with running, and just things going on in my personal life that I was like trying to grow and change as a person. I was kind of using this like Boston Marathon as like a test to like better myself. And I think when people run, they're always trying to better themselves in some way, whether they get, slimmer, lose weight, or, for me, I like doing it for like my mental health and just peace of mind. So yeah, those lyrics just like really, really spoke to me in that setting specifically. And just last night running on the treadmill, I was running to this playlist and Got Nothing came on at a part of the run where I was kind of getting tired. And I cranked the treadmill down to 6:30 and like tried hanging on for like 5 minutes or so, and the song got me through it. So it's always a song I can count on.
I love that. I ran to it today on the treadmill. It's
Beautiful.
It was a good, it was just because I had a gym session plan that wasn't running. I was like, well, I'll warm up. It's good to get your muscles warm anyway before lifting. And that song runs.
Yeah.
I like treadmill running. Actually, I try not to do it too much because it's so nice in there in the air conditioning.
I know, it's been like my guilt. I run on the treadmill like once or twice a week now because my girlfriend loves going to the gym, so I just tag along with her. It's like good excuse to listen to music, and because I usually don't listen to music when I run outside. Like I prefer to run outside, but yeah, to your point, really should take advantage of the remaining nice days. And
well, it was too hot this summer, but now it's about to be perfect, like running outside weather. Like Trevor just ran for 8 hours around the mountains on Saturday, and I ran 15 miles around the city on Saturday, and it was kind of a perfect day. At least in New York, it was a perfect day for running outside.
Very, very low humidity, and it was ideal for running.
All right, we're winding down on time. I got a timer here. This link is gonna explode. But do we have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. So number one with running, do what you want to do. Don't listen to what you think other people want you to do. So no matter what, just run out there and enjoy yourself, set goals, and be happy. Run happy, as Brooks would say.
I love that. Thanks, Tim.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour.
Oh wow, what a great talk. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us again. That was a lot of fun, and as always, I actually feel like I learned something.
Oh, for sure. Thank you, Tim. Perhaps our most literary episode, at least since the pilot, where we talked a lot about the Transcendentalists. But yeah, tons of good stuff in there. Thank you, Tim.
Best episode since the Lost pilot.
That's right.
that no one knows, but I think was probably pretty great. As we mentioned earlier, the Power Motion Picnic Hour Community Mile was a big race, but then you had another big race just, what was that, 2 days ago?
2 days ago. Yeah. So Coach Friend and I went up to run in the Kilkenny Ridge Race in northern New Hampshire, Coos County. And there were 2 races, a 25 and a 50, that as like coming into the day, Friday, the reports were looking like some of the Hurricane Lee post-tropical like storm, whatever it was at that point, extra tropical, were coming through, and on the ridge there could have been sort of very high winds, like up to 80 miles per hour. So they made the decision to condense it to a single 25-mile race on a modified course, which was definitely the right thing to do given those weather predictions. And yeah, so we lined up at the start line, 6 a.m. start Saturday, and set off into the woods to do our 25 miles.
That's wild. How did it feel? Yeah, you sent me your watch report or whatever.
my watch report
afterwards, and it was pretty blown away by just the 25 miles and 8,000 feet of elevation and
Yeah.
4,000 calories burned.
Yeah, it was a lot, and I learned a lot. So first of all, it was a ton of fun, and yeah, I think just felt like very privileged to be out there and to have volunteers like working aid stations while all these like, you know, amateur runners come come cruising through doing their sub ultra at very moderate paces, and then just like crushing potato chips and Reese's Pieces and stuff. It was a
Yes.
blast. I mean, it's imagine going for a trail run and then just every 6 miles or so having somebody like filling up your water and like
Oh
giving you
yeah.
tailwind and like a bunch of snacks laid out, just like whatever you feel like. So that part was awesome.
It's tea time every mile.
Yeah, so very grateful for the volunteers, the race organizers. That you know, it's just like a very cool community feel to that one too. Not a lot of racers, and certainly some very fast racers in there, but also, you know, the whole spectrum. So it was good. It was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations. That's now your biggest race of the year, I suppose.
It is. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think by mileage, it's probably my longest run, 25, wow. A little bit 25 and change. So unfortunately, performance wise, it was not my greatest. So I think I learned a lot. I think I appreciate the importance of, I'd say, especially like leading up in the last 8 weeks or 6 weeks, like a sort of a more structured, disciplined training block. Like I felt good about the 2 or 3 weeks I did leading in, but ultimately I was undertrained, as I would find out on about mile 12 when my muscle soreness was like, all right, like this is a little early for that. And then by mile 19, where I think the technical term they use in the ultra world would be bonk. Though not like, interestingly, like sort of in talking to coach about like the systems and where was there a failure, like, you know, aerobic, cardiovascular, like a lot of good things still going. Metabolic, I was still taking down food and burning it, but my muscular system in the legs just let go at like about mile 19, which meant that
did you go lactic too soon?
I think so. I might have gone a little too lactic a little too soon.
I don't even know what that means exactly, but it felt like the right question.
I think that feels like the right thing. And my knee started to hurt. So like 4 or 5 miles downhill to finish, and it was just a hobble because I was in pain. So whatever sort of mediocre time I was going to put up got a lot worse as you know, got past several times in that point. So I'd say have to focus a bit more on strength training and more structured uphill workouts, hill repeats and 3 minutes on, 2 minutes off, 4x4, those kind of things that you know, if anything, it's given me some motivation to go out and get better, because it was not the performance I was sort of hoping to put up.
Well, it's an amazing accomplishment, and it's a crazy huge race, and a lot harder than just, you know, me cantering around local metropolitan centers. Is you running for 8 hours?
Well, it's a different thing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't think about even how crazy it was till you sent me the stats at the end, and I was like, wow.
I think the thing that saved me ultimately was they had quesadillas at mile, what would it have been, maybe 18 or so. Mm-hmm. And so that was like about where I was starting to fail the most, and started to have kind of a hard time, but there were quesadillas and they were delicious.
And that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to the quesadilla makers. Blessed are the quesadilla makers.
Thank you to your quesadilla makers. That was also the point at which I probably made my best joke of the day. And I'd been making jokes. Nobody, like, you know, other runners, like the crew people at the aid stations, but these people, I grabbed, they had like sodas sitting out, and they had like Coke and something else. And then they had this big thing of something called Mountain Lightning, which was like the generic version of like Mountain Dew. And so I grabbed some of that and opened it, and they were like, oh, I don't think anybody's like gotten into the Mountain Lightning. And that's when I made the joke I said, yeah, if only we could somehow warn the runners ahead of us.
That's great.
Yeah.
They must have appreciated that.
They like that. Yeah. And then Coach and I put down some mountain lightning. It was pretty cool.
Did the mountain lightning. I can't imagine drinking stuff like that while running. Mountain lightning or Coke. I can picture eating a quesadilla.
Coke. I mean, surprisingly, the mountain lightning was good. It was future sponsor Mountain Lightning. It was like, it was warm. And you just want like something that you can just burn quickly, you know. I mean, you want like more complex carbs and stuff like that too, but you also sometimes just need stuff to just keep burning, because, you know, again, 4,000 calories, if that's at all accurate, you know, you got to be putting down a few hundred calories every hour.
So you can't do it on goo alone.
You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do. I can't.
You'd have to put
I need something more than that.
You'd have to do like a goo every 10 minutes or something.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like, like three or so an hour. So yeah, you're doing it every 15, 20 minutes.
I could do that. I had 2 goos on my run on Saturday, just running around the city.
It was smart. That's a smart thing. We got to get you out on a trail, by the way. So maybe a bigger effort for next year. We can line up, but maybe even just, you know, next time the stars align and an occasion presents itself, you know, we can do something even small around my place.
Sure.
Something like that. Yeah.
It sounds good. I guess I'd have to buy new shoes, which I'm down for, even though I just bought new shoes today.
Oh, I guess I was thinking a little bit in between episodes. So yeah, clearly, like, I mean, one, just very grateful for the experience, tons of good memories, tons of fun out there. So like, again, why should I be upset about like a time? And I think,
yeah,
you know, in my mind, it's like, well, I could have done better. But like the way I could have done better was different and like better training, you know? So like day of, you know, I guess I executed to the extent I could, but anyway, I've decided like maybe to try it again next year. It would be hopefully the original course, do the full ridge, but also see if I can get closer to like the time I thought I might be capable of.
It's
so I
hard.
ran a good about like 2/3 of a race, probably, let's say.
So you ran a good 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah. And then you can see it on the stats. My heart rate just goes down because I start to not be able to go fast enough.
You just start
my legs
hobbling,
just fail me. Yeah.
Hobbling and drinking generic Mountain Dew. It's just like a form of running.
Just trying to keep down, make it to the next Reese's Pieces and keep down the last quesadilla. Yeah.
I could eat. I think I could eat. Like when I have races in the morning, I try not to eat too much, but I just feel like I can eat. I guess ultra runners do it, so why couldn't I? I've never eaten anything while running except a goo gel packet.
Yeah. But anyway, so ultimately, I guess in summary, I mean, how can you, like, a day where you get to run 25 miles for 8 hours in the woods and get fed awesome snacks by people? Like, how can you beat that? And it was tons of fun. So.
Some people don't think that sounds like fun, but to me at all, but to me, that sounds like a perfect day.
It was pretty awesome. And you feel just so like accomplished and depleted, like, you know, your body's just like zapped at the end, but you also just feel so good to just sit down, take off your shoes, like just get comfortable again. It's a special type of relaxing sort of fulfillment that you get, like, you know, you can't get just doing like smaller things, you know. You
got to earn it. Yeah, a big run. I mean, I felt really good after my 15-mile run on Saturday, and that's not even close. I don't know how long it took me.
That's still a long run.
It was great. Actually, it was pure pleasure until probably about 12 miles in, and it was a loop, so I was pretty close to home. I had my water thing, you know, like my little water belt, which has like a little pouch in it. So I had a few things in there, including my phone. But I realized about 3 miles from home that even though I had my phone, I didn't have my house keys.
Oh no!
So I called, female gear shed testing correspondent to see if she was home, and she was not. Ooh. I called her while I was running, which you could do if you're running slow. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. And it's actually a good test to see if you're staying in zone 2.
I was very zone 2. Yeah. Nice. And so she was not home, but I found out where she was.
Okay.
And so it lengthened my run a little bit and ran by outside the thrift store she was at and did a handoff. It was like running by the water station and got some house keys. And then ran home. And actually, the run would have been a little short because I measured it on Google Maps after I got home. So it's good that I had to extend it because otherwise I wouldn't have quite made 15 miles. So
Nice.
it was a nice challenge to get away from the beautiful serenity running along the riverside, just running straight into the city, running up 13th Street.
Well, at least hopefully a little bit better on the weekends. Maybe not.
A lot of shoppers,
Yeah,
a lot of tourists.
I guess you replace the workers for the shoppers and tourists.
Yeah, but it was good. It was fun. It was a fun way to end it. Yeah, no, I guess we should wind this one down. This is probably a long episode, and we've covered a lot.
I guess, yeah. Until next time.
We got to catch up on songs of the week, and we could hear how your recovery went.
Yeah.
And which off-brand generic sodas you're drinking this week. What you drink? What we know what you drink when you're running, but how about when you're just hanging out, recovering from a long run?
Yeah.
What works best for that?
For me, it's always got to be the Mountain Lightning.
I think Mountain Lightning works in all settings.
Yeah, maybe we'll even have our bus stop ad by then. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, our apologies that it's another cliffhanger ending, but that's just the way that we do things here on the Power Motion Picnic Hour. So until next time,
onward.
This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour, your favorite of the few, with a mile of opinions that we'll gladly share with you. This is the Power Motion Picnic Hour, you deserve nothing less. The Power Motion Picnic Hour, sometimes with special guests. Say your name, special guest.
The ferryman.
This is the Power Motion.